So I given all the information, I log into the SAP system. Okay. So I will first connect to the SAP system. I may have multiple instances. I may have first central service, then I have central instance, then I will have dialog instances. I will draw the dialog instance little bigger, so that because I am going to draw more things within that. So we assume this is the dialog instance. Okay. So in this example, my dialog instance is 02 and central instance is say, we say dialog instance is 03, central instance is 01. So I am logging in through 03 in this example. So my request will be handled by, these are all these are in the SAP basis layer. So I will be connected, my request will go to first the message service. I already told about message service. That is part of the central instance. So let me take it there. There's message service here also. Okay. So from there it will direct me. Okay. If suppose I have a choice of going to either 3 or 4, if I'm in a login group, right, I have a chance, right? So we assume that it directed me to this one. So one of them has directed me to this instance. Okay, so my request is going to instance 3, right? In this case, I mentioned that I have to go to 3, so it's going to 3. In case I don't have an instance mentioned here, but I belong to a logon group or so, then it will, based on the load, it will direct me to the right instance. The first guy in the instance who is going to respond to me is dispatcher. And the dispatcher has small buffer area. So until my information goes to the work process, dialog work process, it will stay, my request will be staying there. Then my request will be handed over to a work process. I will draw the work process bigger. So this is my first work process. That is a dialog work process as well. So that my request is going there. As I told you in the last lesson, my dialog work process has a small area called local memory. Okay. So now when my request goes there, so this guy is logging in and he's trying to, we have a login screen here. So he gave his information. What are the information he has to give? First he has to give the login ID and the password, and also he has to give the client.
Yes.
Okay, so when he gave all the information, language if he wants he can give, then it will authenticate him provided his information is correct. So his information will come from either database, okay, or database buffer, or shared memory. There is a memory area here called shared memory. All information can stay here in different levels based on how often they are used and when they were used last, right? We assume it's coming from the buffer, this buffer, or maybe shared memory. So this guy logged in recently, right? So information is there in the shared memory. So his information will be loaded from shared memory to the local memory. So that is called roll in, roll in. Not only is information, if he has been working with some other objects before, all the objects and all this other authorization information, everything will be loaded here. This is the first part of the local memory. First part of the local memory. Right? Then we have another part here which will be used as and when required. And then we have a reserved area called heap memory. We discussed about this in the last lesson as well, right? Yes. So the rolling takes all the information about the user. Actually the user context is loaded from here. What is user context? Authentic information about info about the user and
authentication objects.
Yeah, authorization objects plus authorizations and plus objects the user is working on. Currently is working on some objects, so all the information will be loaded. Okay? So now the system will check whether this guy is a valid user, his name is Tom, his password is valid, then it will allow the person to authenticate. When he authenticates, the system will know, oh, this guy can do all this work. It has that information there. So after he logs in, he can start working in the system. And as I told you, the user may be logging in, he won't feel it, but his activities, his SAP transaction is handled by multiple work process, not only one work process. So because one user transaction SAP transaction is handled by multiple work process, it's called work process multiplexing. Okay? So whenever this work process does the portion of the user's work, it has to leave the user and then help another person, help another user, or another activity, right? So the information the local memory has to be loaded back into the shared memory when the work process leaves that particular user. So that from this shared memory it can be loaded again to another, again when this user uses another work process, right? So this is called roll out. So there is roll in, roll out mechanism here. Okay? And I told you dispatcher and the work process, not only this work process, all the work processes, dispatcher and all the work processes join together to make a instance. Instance is made up of dispatcher, work process, and memory, associated memory, right? So I have a memory area for this. This is a memory area which is drawn very small, but that occupies more space. And we have memory here also. So every instance should have memory. Every instance should have dispatcher. But only central instance has message service. Only central instance has NQ work process.
So what is the use of that memory?
This memory?
Yeah.
Because all the processing has to be done also apart from the other processing, right? Apart from these activities, right? A lot of other activities go on, right? screens has to be loaded, and that has to be loaded here. Yeah, when it's loading from the hard drive, in this example, I'm showing like it's loading directly, right? It may be loading to that memory from there, right? It has to come through that, right?
So you said instant means work process, gateway, and memory.
Yeah, gateway and memory. So I should have a gateway here. I should have a gateway here also. Gateway will talk to
Both of
each other, right?
Yeah.
So this instance knows that this instance is there. That is the purpose of gateway, right? But the purpose of message service is load balancing, and also the memory is to do the lot of processing has to be done apart from local memory, right? And the shared memory, I have shared memory. Yeah, I accidentally drew it inside the work process. I made a mistake. So let me draw it outside. Huh? That's why I think you're confused, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, sorry about it. Yeah. So I will draw it outside. Okay, this shared memory is part of the memory, right? Okay. Part of that memory.
Okay, yes.
Right.
Okay. That's why I'm asking what is the
Yeah,
difference
yeah,
between
yeah.
two.
Good, right? And drawing happens sometimes. Sometimes my mind goes somewhere.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have central instance and we have dialog instance. This guy is logged in into dialog instance, which is also called an application server, right? And then apart from MQ, we also have here spool work process,
Cool.
and also we have background work process, and also we have what? Dialog,
Work process.
and also update,
Process.
and also update to, and also
Background.
NQ, right? So all the work processes are there. So in the central instance, we have all the varieties of work processes. But in the dialog instance, this is a dialog instance which I drew big because I'm drawing inside, right? So I have only a dialog and background. We don't need an NQ work process. The entire system is SAP system. The system, this system is SAP system. It may be more things on top, and less more things at the bottom also. I'm talking about only the basis layer. And I also told if the information is stored in the memory, the RAM, shared memory area of the RAM, the local memory can have drive pointers to that, right? Drive pointers to that. Mapping, we call it mapping to that, right? And also we learned about the different functionalities. What is the function of the dialog work process? Responding to user, responding to the user requests. Okay. And also coordinating between different activities in the system. US person didn't come here. Dialog work process, what does it do? User related activities and coordination between other work processes also, right? And also when a person logs in, when a person requests for something, when he's changing screens, dialog work process always help the user. Then we have background work process. But it doesn't directly get involved with the user, but whatever the jobs the user gave, dialog process will do it in the background. Okay. Then apart from that, we have update work process and update to work process. This will do mission critical work. This will do mission critical updates. This is less mission critical updates. Something like you changing your password. Changing your password is mission critical. Changing your address may not be mission critical. So the programmers who develop these codes, they decide this is mission critical, this is not mission critical, and based on that, the update work process work, right? Yeah. Then we have dialog background update. Then we have NQ work process, and then we have before I do any update of a record, I have to lock the record. So this will NQ work process helps me in to lock the record. Then apart from that, what else? Tell me.
Spool work process.
Spool work process. Spool work process will help in the printer spools and all, right? If I'm using an SAP system as a print server, then I have to have more than one spool server, right? Otherwise, dialog process. So I can have one dialog process per SAP system. One whole SAP system is enough, right? And for the whole SAP system, one NQ work process may be enough. And for the whole SAP system, update work process, 2 update work process may be enough, right? But all these can be increased if you want. The maximum I can increase is 200. 100, okay? I can have 100 dialog work process, 100 background work process. The minimum I should have for dialog work process is 2. The minimum I should have for the background work process is 1. This is for the entire SAP system. No, dialog work process for the instance, minimum I should have 2. But the background work process also for an instance, minimum I should have 1. But for the entire system, I can have minimum 1 NQ and 1 update, and I can have 1 spool, depending on how often you use, how often those are used, right? Those work processes are used. Right? So any questions so far? Okay. Do you want to take a picture?
It's really helping out a lot.
Oh, lot. Good.
Thanks.
So for an outsider, when he logs in, right, he just logs into the SAP system and he starts working, right? But if he logs into an instance where it has more memory, more work processes, his login will be maybe better, right? And also, like, if suppose you don't have log-on groups, right, and people are always logging into this instance, right, through this instance, then you found out this instance is very slow and nobody can log in. So what do you do? You tell the people to log in through this instance, right? So that is another advantage of having instance. Apart from that, I can have different environment here. The login password length is different here, password length is different. Also, I can have different profile parameters here. Default client here is 800, default client is 200 or 300, right? Or I can have parameters like how many times the person can log in with wrong password, auto log out, after how many missed passwords. Those type of settings I can do, right? If a person is going to a very mission critical database, environment, or through a client, mission critical client, maybe I will ask them to log in through this server, and here I have a lot of restrictions, right? I can have like that, right? Then, and also, you must understand the steps when these people are used. So I will just tell you in a nutshell, right? We will go into details later, right? So when a person logs in, the work process which is going to help him is dialogue. Okay? Then the person wanted to update a record. So what is going to help him? When a person wants to update a record.
Update work process.
Two work process, update work process, then
Update to
or update to work process, then what else? And what?
NQ.
NQ work process, because we have to lock the this in. So we'll put NQ first. NQ, then it will update, right? And sometimes, and all this coordination has to be done by direct work process. Sometimes you may be doing something in the background, so background work process also may help you. If this is done in the background, right? You are updating thousands of, millions of records, hundreds of records, thousands of records in the background. So background also helps you, right? Now the user doing only a background job. Which work process is going to help him? For background job. So dialogue work process and background work process. Background work process alone cannot help him. And apart from that, we may be using update, we may be using NQ, all those things. Okay, we should be using, because mostly they are updating things, right? Yeah. Unless they are printing a report. Okay, I can print a report in the background, so then I am not updating, but still it is updating some log files and other things, right? But not record. So if you are updating a log file, maybe I may not be using NQ, right? Yeah. And also I mentioned in the last lesson that whenever a record is going to be updated, if there is a power failure, what will happen? Your record can get corrupted. So in order to avoid that, the system will take a backup of the record. The record is backed up, okay? And then if anything goes wrong, then it will write back from the backup, okay? So that is the procedure that takes place. So when update is concerned, the record is backed up. In an area called VB tables. So this is the record that is backed up there. Okay, and also there is something here called VB logs. So whenever I am updating this, whenever I am updating a record, what information is updated? That entry is here. What information is updated? That entry is here. Okay? So this log table will be getting updated. If suppose the record came from here, if there is corruption, then this will roll over back for corruption. Okay? When there is no corruption, then this will be written here and this will be copied back. Okay? So we can get the data always.
Where it was happening these things? In memory or which?
This is part of memory here.
Which memory? NQ, it's inside the NQ memory?
No, this is not part of NQ memory. NQ memory is another area. So I have another area called NQ area. Okay? So NQ area is different, right? NQ area is in another area. So whenever I am trying to lock this record, so I am going to update this record. So at that time, the record has to be locked. So somebody is going to edit a record here. Somebody is going to edit a record. So that record will be locked. Record lock. So it will have here who locked it, what record is locked, who locked and what record is locked. So after update, when update is done, update is complete, this will be removed. Okay? So whenever record updates takes place, update work process is doing some job, but before that NQ has to lock it, right? If it doesn't lock, then sure there is going to be corruption. Two people can't update the same record, right? So now we will talk about how to log into the SAP system. We already logged in, we created an account, so we will go from there, right? If you want, you can take about 5 minutes break until I set up this.